Train to Lisbon. Would like to be on it.
Why? What's in Lisbon?
Good clipper to America.
You know what this is? Something that even you have never seen.
You'd expect Hollywood's most romantic film to be the product of a perfect script and a passionate, real-life love affair. But for Casablanca, the shocking reality was a production so chaotic its stars could barely stand each other, and its script was being written on the fly. Praised for decades as a flawless masterpiece of storytelling, the film was, behind the scenes, a high-wire act of desperation, with a cast and crew who were convinced they were making a disaster. The legendary on-screen chemistry that defined a generation of romance was a mirage, and the film's most beloved, most quoted moment was never supposed to happen at all. A masterpiece built on doubt. The journey of Casablanca to the screen began not with a bang, but a shrug. The story was based on an unproduced play called Everybody Comes to Rick's, which Warner Brothers purchased for a record-breaking $20,000 in 1942. From the beginning, the project was plagued by uncertainty. The studio assigned twin brothers Julius and Philip Epstein to adapt the play, but they soon left to work on Frank Capra's Why We Fight documentary series, leaving Howard Koch to take over. The writers worked separately, never in the same room, and often had conflicting visions for the story. This disjointed process resulted in the unthinkable. Filming began on May 25, 1942, with a script that was only half finished. It wasn't a minor inconvenience, it was a crisis that defined the entire production. Key plot points, character motivations, and most importantly, the ending were completely unknown. The actors would show up to set each day with no idea where the story was going. This ambiguity was particularly agonizing for Ingrid Bergman, who played the conflicted Ilse Lund. She was caught in one of cinema's greatest love triangles, torn between the cynical Rick Blaine, Humphrey Bogart, and her noble husband, Victor Laszlo, Paul Henreid. Yet she had no idea which man her character was truly in love with or who she'd end up with. This lack of a clear narrative arc left her adrift, unable to anchor her performance in any emotional reality. Years later, screenwriter Howard Koch would recall the profound uncertainty that plagued production. Quote, "When we began, we didn't have a finished script. Ingrid Bergman came to me and said, 'Which man should I love more?' I said to her, 'I don't know, play them both evenly.'" The confusion was so pervasive that many involved, including Bogart and Bergman, believed the film was destined to be a forgettable failure. The world's greatest romance when the cameras were rolling. On screen, Bogart and Bergman created a romance so powerful it became the gold standard for cinematic love stories. The stolen glances, the painful memories of Paris, the heart-wrenching goodbye on a foggy tarmac, their chemistry was electric, a once-in-a-generation pairing that convinced millions of the power of true love. But it was all an act. The second the director yelled cut, the smoldering passion vanished, replaced by a professional and palpable distance. Their characters' deep, intoxicating love never once infiltrated their real lives. Behind the scenes, Humphrey Bogart was a man under siege. He was trapped in a notoriously tumultuous marriage to his third wife, actress Mayo Methow. Her heavy drinking and paranoid jealousy were legendary in Hollywood, and she became convinced that Bogart was having an affair with his beautiful Swedish co-star. Mayo would frequently call the set or show up to confront him, making his work life a living hell. For Bogart, Bergman's presence was a constant source of turmoil in his private life, a fact that did little to endear her to him. He retreated into a professional shell, keeping his interactions with her brief and strictly business-related. Bergman, for her part, was equally detached. She was also married at the time to Dr. Peter Lindstrom, and by all accounts, she felt no off-screen spark for Bogart whatsoever. She found him reserved and difficult to connect with. According to actress Geraldine Fitzgerald, who was on set, the only time Bogart and Bergman truly talked off-camera was when they were commiserating about the dreadful script and plotting ways to get out of their contracts. Their relationship was a paradox, a cinematic romance for the ages performed by two people who, in reality, could barely stand to be in the same room. Decades later, Ingrid Bergman would reflect on the strange paradox of their on-screen passion and off-screen distance with a single, devastatingly honest admission. Quote, "I kissed him, but I never knew him." This very distance created long, awkward stretches of downtime on a set already stalled by constant script revisions. Little did anyone know, the very boredom born from this tension would lead to an inside joke that would change cinema history. An actor's gambit. With an unfinished script and production in disarray, delays on the set of Casablanca were constant and lengthy. The cast and crew spent countless hours waiting for new pages to be delivered or for director Michael Curtis to figure out how to stage a scene with no clear narrative direction. To combat the boredom and palpable tension, Humphrey Bogart, an avid and skilled chess and card player, began teaching Ingrid Bergman and other cast members how to play poker between takes. These informal games became a small island of normalcy and a sea of creative chaos. Bogart was a consummate professional, a man who believed in craft, integrity, and finding the truth in a performance. He was not the tough guy persona he often played. He was a well-read, thoughtful man who took his work seriously. For him, these poker games may have been more than just a way to pass the time. They were a way to build a sliver of rapport with his famously distant co-star, a way to create a shared experience, any shared experience, that he could draw upon for their scenes together. It was during these casual card games that a phrase began to emerge. As a playful bit of poker talk, Bogart started saying, "Here's looking at you," to Bergman. It was an offhanded, personal remark, an inside joke between two colleagues killing time. For a man like Bogart, acting wasn't about pretending. It was about finding a kernel of truth in the performance. His personal philosophy spoke to his search for authenticity. Quote, "Acting is experiencing with something sweet behind it." In the sterile, awkward environment of the Casablanca set, that small, sweet piece of experience was a shared joke over a game of cards. It was a tiny, private moment of connection in a relationship otherwise defined by its absence. It wasn't in the script, and it wasn't meant for camera. But what started as a private joke during a card game was about to become public and immortal, without anyone realizing it. The reveal. How an inside joke became an immortal line. As filming progressed, Bogart began to weave the private joke from the poker games into his performance. During the filming of the romantic Paris flashback scenes, he spontaneously ad-libbed the line, adding the affectionate diminutive "kid" to the end. "Here's looking at you, kid." It was never in the script. The screenwriters, Julius and Philip Epstein and Howard Koch, hadn't written it. It was a pure, in-the-moment invention by Bogart, a way to inject a touch of their off-screen reality into the on-screen fiction, perhaps just to see Bergman's genuine reaction. Director Michael Curtis, recognizing the line's simple, powerful charm, decided to keep it. The line worked so well it was used 4 times throughout the film. It evolves beautifully with the story, beginning as a happy, carefree toast between two lovers in Paris, and ending as a poignant, heart-wrenching farewell on the foggy Casablanca airfield. In that final, iconic scene, as Rick makes the ultimate sacrifice, the line encapsulates their entire history, the joy of Paris, the pain of their separation, and the enduring love that will always connect them. It's the perfect line, born from the most imperfect of circumstances. What makes the story even more remarkable is that Bogart didn't entirely invent the phrase itself. "Here's looking at you" was a common American slang expression used as a drinking toast, with origins dating back to the late 19th century. Bogart's genius was not in its creation, but its perfect application, taking a piece of everyday language, personalizing it with "kid," and infusing it with a universe of romantic longing. Years after the film's chaotic production, Ingrid Bergman marveled at the strange, unexplainable magic Casablanca seemed to possess. Quote, "It has a life of its own. There's something mystical about it. It seems to have filled a need that was there before the film, a need that the film filled." Now it's time to hear from you. Who's your favorite character from Casablanca? Let us know in the comments section below.